mental health awareness in the church. Now, we're doing good, been going great. So I'm just ready to get it kicked off if everybody is good with it. Now, before we get started, I want to give a shout out to our sponsor for this session, which is Sendero Health Plans. We are so grateful for their support in helping make this event possible. So now we have a few housekeeping items to go over together. This is a safe, supportive space, so please help us maintain a respectful and inclusive environment. Please don't forget to mute yourself at all times. And remember that we are live on Facebook. Please use your chat function in Whova to interact with other attendees. And for questions for the presenter, use the Q&A function in Whova. Now, if you feel overwhelmed or if you need to talk to someone during the session, please call 512-472-4357. And again, I want to say it again, 512-472-4357. Press option 1 and then press 1 again for immediate emotional support. Our comfort suite is officially closed tonight. I know. Thank you all for joining in at the comfort suite, but you are able to call that phone number if you have anything that you need to speak on. Now, the comfort suite will be open again tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. Anytime you want to go to the comfort suite, you are to go under the community tab in Whova, and then under the main navigation area in Whova. We have a number of surveys. I know. So if you registered for continuing education credits or CEUs, please check that chat. Please check the chat for the links. The first link will sign you in for the CEU. Now, please sign in at the beginning of the session. And then after the workshop, there will be another link for CEU evaluation. Please click on that link for a short evaluation, which also includes the CEU request form. Now, once you've completed the evaluation, you'll be taken to a page with a link for your CEU certificate. I also need to let you know that we have some great conference merchandise. I got mine. So be sure to check out our online store at www.ctaafsc.com/shop. Now, what we've all come for, please join me in welcoming our presenter, Pastor B.R. Reese. Now, Pastor Reese is the pastor of God's Way Christian Baptist Church with over 35 years of pastoral care. He has devoted many years of service, working with children in foster care and reaching out to those who are underserved. While pastoring and doing public presentations, he has experienced his weak moments and mental health blockage. He acknowledges that the Lord has taught him a valuable lesson in ministry and believing we all need compassionate people around us that are not judgmental. Pastor Reese has provided self-help tools and talking points that address a healthier dialogue around mental health at the church. He also is the author of Mental Health Care at Church and Beyond, the Stigma-Free Church. In 2020, Pastor Reese was awarded the Richard E. Hopkins Torch Award for Community Impact. Now, let's enjoy the presentation, and we'll be back together soon for a live Q&A. Pastor Reese?
Christian Baptist Church in Taylor, Texas, and I want to also thank the African American Family Support Conference for allowing me the opportunity to share today about mental health awareness in the African American family at Church and Beyond. God bless you and thank you so much. Today I will be talking about mental health awareness and the church. And so first of all, I want to share a little bit about learning how to self-regulate. self-regulation is something that all of us need right now during this coronavirus pandemic. So many lives have been affected by it. So we really need to practice how to self-regulate so we can take better care of ourselves and better care of our loved ones and our family as well. So it's been brought to our attention that the coronavirus has greater impact on the minority group, and there is a need to participate in clinical trials as a result of the new norm that we're now facing and going through. So mental health is now more broader now than ever before, and all Americans are dealing with emotions, stress disorders, anxiety, and some degree of anger as well, and the need for self-care is more vital than ever before. So I believe there's a need for all of us to learn more about self-regulation as well as learning how to self-regulate, because if we learn how to self-regulate, then we can deal with our own problems and we'll be able to help somebody else as well in our church as well as those outside of our church family as well. So we may not be able to change the situation, but we can choose to change the way we look at it and what we think about it. Being in mental health or emotional wellness or whatever the situation is, we can choose to change the way we perceive it, the way we think about it in general. So what can we do different right now? How can we help ourselves or help somebody else to stay during church worship services, as well as going out in the community and trying to help somebody make it through the day to encourage them. So next of all, I want to talk about some sensitive keys that might be helpful in the church as well as in the community. So let me share a little bit about that. Sensitive keys has to do with comfort, basically compassion and understanding about the needs of people and how we can approach those things in a more proactive way. So there are some causes and effects to everything that we do generally in life. So we look at that. So we're talking about some causes for effects. Well, basically, we're looking for trying to figure out how to determine a safe place for those who may be suffering from mental illness, emotional strain, or whatever the situations may be. There are some things that just basically we just don't need to say, so we need to learn, even in church, how to deal with those issues in order to address those problems that people might be facing. Even today. And so just some things that we just don't need to say, need to learn how to speak well on behalf of others. So the question here is, can we trust our wisdom or knowledge to connect with a person that might be asking for assistance in times like these? And so during this coronavirus, there are so many on the phone, online, in different places asking for resources because there's a shortage in food, and there's a counseling that needs to take place and so many things. And from a biblical point of view, people need to know that they can find the comfort in the church and find the consolation to help them to endure all the things that they're going through. So, but can we be trusted to be able to assist somebody else? So that's some of the things that we're looking at as sensitive keys. What adjustments can we make right now to make a difference in somebody's life? So every day we should be making adjustments, figuring out ways that we can better help somebody without, upsetting them or something like this, and to let them know that we're here for them and we're going to walk through this thing together to help see them through. So basically, in order to help somebody, I come to the realization that we as ministers, as pastors and leaders, and pastoral staff leaders, ushers as well, need to have an understanding that we need to be in the right state of mind, right frame of mind, in order to help somebody. Because if we're hurting, then we're going to hurt people as well. As it has been said before, that people that hurt often hurt others that may be suffering. So we really need to do some self-care on ourselves so we can be a blessing and a resource and to be helpful to somebody else. So at this time, looking at the state of mind, whether it be the pastor or congregation, congregant or family member or somebody in the community, the need is all the same. We need to learn how to self-regulate. So everyone needs to learn how to deal with their own anxiety, how to deal with their trauma issues, whether it's at church or whether it's in the home or in the community. Mental health concerns as it related to self-care. We need to do some things for ourselves so we can help somebody else. So the question is, am I in the right frame of mind, the right heart to assist those during this crisis that we're now facing today? And I guess, are we really in the right frame of mind that we can do something to help somebody else? So I think that transparency and transition are two building blocks that are connectors in developing good and sound solutions to problem solving techniques at the church as well as in the community. So making the necessary adjustments to attune to the person in need, their feelings, while remaining open-minded, and most of all, just meeting people where they are today. So understanding that there's a time when the gift of silence must be applied. That sometimes we just need to make ourselves available just to listen, be quiet, to pay attention to what somebody else is saying, to really focus on the need, because that's the most important thing right now, is that we consider what somebody needs, and so we can respond to that in a proactive way to be a help, and not a harm to anybody else. So we just need to understand that silence really is a gift that can be helpful to somebody else. So moving forward, the welcome letter. Pastors often, when new membership come in, excuse me, pastors often write or have a welcome letter that they share with new members and stuff like that. So I feel like the welcome letter can be a proactive tool that can be really used right now within the church as well as the community. So it's really, because it speaks volumes to the church as a safe place when the pastor can write that kind of letter encouraging membership to stay safe and do the right things. And somehow or another, it has a way of deterring us from discrimination and neglect. And also, it creates inclusion that everybody's welcome at the church, and it sends a clear message addressing the church as well, not only as those that might be going through emotional problems and stuff like that, whether it's mental health or distress or anger or whatever that might be. The pastor, through that welcome letter, needs to let people know that they can be connected and stay connected, and that they have the support and compassion that they stand in need of through that letter. But it also sends an active message to those that's in the church that they need to be careful and aware of how we respond to the needs of people in times such as this. So how is the church or our community reaching out to those that may need extra attention? So those are things we need to really look at. What are we doing to make a difference in somebody else's life today? Because the church is, even though it seems like we're, at home and spending more time at home than on the front line in times like these, but we still need to be figuring out ways that we can make people feel comfortable and loved and not disconnected. And it's also a way of keeping our church connected with us as well. So we're moving to PowerPoint number 2, and we're going to talk about the need for sensitive training, action plan, mindful, and being attuned in trauma and triggers. So that's pretty interesting. So these are some types of prevention and solutions that I think that we can begin in the church as well, and share that with the community as well. So these are things we can do right now to make a difference in the church. So, okay. So every church needs to have what I call a sensitive training. So I think it's needed right now, based on all the problems that we're dealing with the COVID virus right now, that some sensitive training as well. Sensitive training sessions with our frontline people, pastoral care team, instructional as well as educational awareness in how to properly address such difficult and sensitive issues that occur at the church and in our community. Such observations can be very helpful right now. They can be very helpful right now for the pastor as well as for the congregants. So during the coronavirus, there is a need for more healthcare dialogue, things that we can do different to stay connected, to having a trusted name that speaks to the safety of the vaccine, that many of the Black African American community, I think it's about 49% of African Americans don't trust the vaccine. So we need somebody that's a trusted person, trusted source that can vouch for our Black community to help them know that through the vaccine we can be safe and our families can be safer. So we just thank God for that. And so really a good plan of action would be developing the ability to detract rather than draw attention to a situation. So what I mean by that is that if we have understanding and knowledge of something, then we can better assess the situation and the need that someone is going through at the time rather than harm someone with words that make much sense. So sometimes we have the tendency to overreact rather than respond to specific need. Be it mental health, anxiety, stress, bereavement, which is one thing that we're really dealing with right now. Because so we're losing so many families and church members and things of this nature. It's difficult for people to grieve properly. So they really need the support of family members, especially pastoral care members, to let them know that we're there to do as much as we possibly can to help somebody get through the day, especially during these days of the coronavirus. So that's and also we're dealing with so much unrest with the violence and the overtone and things that's going on through the elections and other things. It's really putting the stress, especially on the elderly and those who are underserved members in our community as well. So we just need to work on these issues right now because the deal is that we really don't want to silence anybody's voices. That's why we want to be able to detract rather than draw attention to the situation because everybody's voice should be heard. Nobody should feel neglected or withdrawn, feel like they don't belong, feel like the church doesn't love them or the community is not there to support them. So we just really need to pay attention to that and learn from that. How we can better help somebody because there's no need for someone to lose their voice and become ashamed at church that they're not fitted to be part of that service. It's not part of the plan that Christ has in existence. So having in place a good plan of action is a good preventative solution that will prevent most distractions and unnecessary behaviors such as trauma or that's displayed out at the wrong time. This can be the most helpful in building strong, holistic relationships at church and as well as in the community around total inclusion. So that's very important that we have a plan in place that takes a preventative measure, especially if we are preaching and teaching, and then there's a trauma going on during the service time. Then how do we do with that? We don't want to draw attention to that problem. We want to be able to solve that problem. So there should be some preventative things that we can do beforehand as far as being able to solve those problems. And so that's necessary that we learn to do those things, to meet and have sensitive training, especially with our ushers and stuff like that. There are things that they can do in order to help make the service run much smoother and to make people feel comfortable before things get out of hand. So we should work on those kind of things that can be very helpful in the time of need. Okay. All right. So we can prevent, so many things can be prevented in trauma if we just, do what we need to do to be helpful right now and building that strong holistic relationship, as I mentioned earlier, at church as well as in the community is really a part of the total inclusion that all things work better together. So mental health, integration, and self-regulation. So we're gonna move over there. Should begin long before the person arrives at church. And let me reiterate that again. I said mental health integration and self-regulation should start long before a person even becomes a member of the church or enters the church. We should already have in plan some things that we can offer people that come to church and make things run much smoother at church. So especially for those that have special needs, children or whatever the condition may be, in order to support more proactive program at church. So, okay, so being mindful and attuned. So there's a need to be mindful and attuned. What does it mean to be mindful? Praise the Lord. So it means to be aware of emotions or our thoughts and without being judgmental, especially at church or in our community. We do not want to do things the wrong way, so we must be in attunement with others, more so one with another. It is the element of building strong relationships that allows one to connect before there can be any form of correction. Everyone should be matched and practicing safe distancing for the benefit of others and for the well-being of their loved ones. What is important is the understanding of trauma and triggers. Everyone is tripping right about now. I think everybody's having some kind of problem or depression or something that's going on right now where we all need some self-care to take care of ourselves. It's important that we understand our own personal triggers and where those triggers are. And, you know, I know that I've preached some sermons that had probably some triggers loaded with some triggers and stuff like that. And sometimes pastors and congregants have unresolved issues that we didn't deal with from our youth, and really need to go back and work on those things and fix those things so we can help somebody else and be transparent about that stuff. Okay, and deal with breakers. You know, we all have some deal breakers, you know, things like that that we refuse to acknowledge. So everybody has to deal breaker. So I guess the good question is, what is your deal breaker that we're looking at right here? So how can we deal with anxiety and trauma at church? Community trauma, that we have those too. Lots of people are practicing safe distancing, not wearing masks, the trauma, the coronavirus, and so forth. These are behaviors that can be changed, of course, but there are also other things that certainly require professional help that we need today. So we can start by recognizing the need of addressing the needs of them, then meeting that need before crisis erupt, or even before crisis occur. We can connect face to face. We can use live, Facebook Live, FaceTime, Zoom, text messaging. There's so many different ways that we can stay connected. We can drive by, you know, we can do all kinds of things that let our loved ones know that we appreciate in them, especially even at church, we can do things like that. So going to PowerPoint number 3, the African American, I think it's their coping. Yes, it's their coping with COVID-19. So I think that's really vital right there, because there's so much depression going on right now, and things of this nation. There's abuse and neglect. One of the most serious things that's happening right now with our youth is that they're you know, they're living, those especially living in homes of abuse, and now the schools are shut down, so they don't have no outing, no place to go. So those are the problems that we really need to take concern to, take note to, that we can be there to help. In loss of jobs, financial strain, distress, you know, all kinds of unrest, things that's going on, feeling uncomfortable, you know, and not sure of the vaccine and stuff of this nature. So it just goes on and on and on. But this is some of the things that we really need to look close at COVID-19, you know, especially among the Black men, because we don't like going to the doctor. We don't like taking medications, and we just don't do anything. But I think it's the point now where we need to step up and let our youth know that we're responsible as parents, and that we're there, and these things, we're going to get through these things together, and especially at the church as well. It's a time when we can take charge and take authority and do what we can do to make a difference and let somebody see our love and concern even in the community.
And we are back.
Thank you so much, Pastor Reese, for everything that you said. I mean, everything that I'm hearing right now, trying to take care of yourself and self-regulate and just the whole gambit, you know. I don't know what else to say. You know, it's all kinds of stuff
Yeah.
that is going through. I took my own notes. We have, you know, some questions to ask. So my
Okay.
thought is to just get right with the questions, if you're okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I have one of the questions. It says, what kind of help and support is needed most during the coronavirus time?
Okay. Well, first of all, I want to thank you and thank all of the participants this evening for sharing in. So that question is that the elderly need basically socialization as well as communication. Those are some of the things that they need right now, to know that they can see somebody's face, that there'll be some hope for them to continue on during this coronavirus. And then there's the children that, you know, some of them live in domestic homes, and stuff like that. And with the school during the coronavirus and stuff, and homeschooling and stuff like that, because youth that I know, some of the youth that I know that live in domestic home, the school is a safe place for them. It's a place where they can find release and also find some food and things like that and get a break where they can do, do a reset and go back home, because some of the places are pretty hard. And so also single parenting during the pandemic is difficult too, especially if they have to work, at a time such as this. And then there's also those that have mentioned that they have low credit rating. And what that means is if they don't work, don't have a job, no income, then if they lose their apartment or home, they're not sure that they'll be able to find a place to live because credit rating is so terrible. So it was just so much unrest going on because of the pandemic and things that's going on. So we just need to work on things like that and that kind of thing. There's a lot of complaints of underlying conditions. That thing is that disparity going on. And I've even got a few calls even about the new vaccine and stuff like that, that they're crashing online and stuff like that. So don't know where to go. I mentioned earlier in the presentation about the welcome letter. Sometimes cities need to come up with a welcome letter to let people know, especially those of, a minority, whether it's Latino or African American, because I think the African American is about 5%. The Latinos about 11% right now that have gotten the shot. So we have so much stuff going on so that we need right now. So, but the main thing is, one thing is staying connected, making sure that our loved ones, we can communicate with them through Facebook, FaceTiming, whatever we can do, call them and let them know that we're here to support them and to help them, especially youth. We ought to have a youth hotline, not so much as calling in because it's a problematic issue, but being able to know that there's somebody can talk to them because they just don't know where to go and they need that, that mentor, that person there to help them to get through the difficult. Sometimes you can't talk to your parents, so they need to know that there's somebody out there. And so we did create a hotline here at my home where youth and people in general can call and we can have a conversation about whatever the need is. And I've posted my phone number on Facebook Live many times because I don't want to hear it. It's the time that I have to go to the front line and know that you can call my number. It's not covered up or hid anywhere. That you can just call me and whatever the problem is, we can assist you or walk you through it. That encourage you. So that was a good question. I really appreciated that question because it goes straight to the point of the need that people are crying out for in such a time as this.
Absolutely. And even, I mean, I know that right now there's not a lot of churches that are open, but there are some that are open right
Yes.
now, whether it's fully open or partially open. And one of the questions that were posed were the front line. You just mentioned the front line. How would the ushers be able to help, to be helpful in a situation for mental health, if there was a mental health
Okay.
issue or something like that? Who are the frontline people at a church?
Well, the frontline people in the church is the pastor, of course, and the pastoral staff, the ushers and nurses and people like that. They're frontline people. And what I mean by ushers is meaning that the pastor, the ushers, the pastoral staff people all need to come together also along with the parent. Just say, for instance, there was a trauma going on in church. So in order to restore that or be proactive about that situation, then because if the ushers know what's going on, then they'll be able to respond. They see a situation coming up in church, maybe service or singing, the sermon is going on or something like that. So the ushers can address that properly without creating a spot or creating an issue that's going to get out of control and cause a big drama right in the church service. So that's why it's important that we go proactive and meet with the ushers, with the parents, with the pastor or church leader, and have a discussion about the children, whether the children need additional care, what concerns there is, so we can all be on the same page. And that's what's happened so many times. The churches, pastors, community workers, professional people, we're not always on the same page. Now, sometimes we have to take the initiative as parents and pastors to reach people, to reach children because they don't know. If they're suffering and they're hurting, they can't come to us. We have to go to them. So It becomes our responsibility to be their voice and to hear their outer cry in the time of need.
Absolutely. I mean, even in your discussion earlier, one of the things that I wrote down is that you mentioned that mental health integration needs to be put into a plan of action within the church.
Yes,
The church has several plans of action for whatever may come across,
right,
but who has, or is there something even developed in regards to a plan of action for a person with lived mental health or substance experiences, and where to navigate and where to take them? There's a young lady that also just asked in the chat. They said, how did they handle their adult son suffering from anxiety and depression? How would the church be able to help support that?
okay, I think I had that question. Let's see. Oh, that was a really tough question though, wasn't it? But it's a good question that needed some application put to it. That sounds like a familiar question that maybe I've been involved with myself. So, but anyway, in order to handle that, sometimes we have to think, like the pastor can only do so much, and we need to do referrals. The same thing applies to parents. In all reality, the same thing applies. Self-care versus self-care. And what I mean by that is that I need to do some self-care for myself, but also what do I need from somebody else to help me stay safe? It's a two-way dualistic nature of self-care that somebody else has got to do something as well. So what I mean by that, sometimes it becomes a responsibility of another person to do something for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so, and let me explain that. What I'm saying is that now my son or my daughter broke their arm. All I could do basically is take them to the doctor. Okay, I'm gonna need the doctor. I'm gonna have to stand by the doctor because they can put the cast on. It's a process where it becomes a responsibility of somebody else to help us out when we're going through. So we have to look for support. We have to look for other people that can give us the answers in similar situations where we can, get through some things. So we look at that way. So some of our kids do not want to listen to us, especially around sensitive issues at times. Okay. So sometimes we must go through a side door. Now let me explain what a side door means to me as a pastor. Now, mental health, there's a mental health door, main door to mental health. I, as a pastor, don't have all the answers. Parents don't have all the answers. No, none of us have all the answers. So we shouldn't act like we have to do it all by ourselves. As I mentioned earlier, sometimes we need to get the assistance. If I'm a diabetic, I need to be diagnosed by a doctor that can give me the medications that I need, okay? So the side door is that if a pastor, I'm not going to just go straight and tell somebody about mental health and I don't have the answers. So what I'll do is I go through that side door and I'll couple diabetes, heart issues. You see what I'm saying? Blood pressure, cholesterol, mental health, I'll couple all that stuff together and say, in a sense, all of these are problems, all of these are needs, all of these stuff needs attention. And here is what we do. That's the side door. Now, some policemen that with their professionalism need to really go through a side door too because they're professional, but yet they don't know how to deal with mental health cases, like the one in Killeen. Pastor got killed in Killeen. Now, the daughter that was tasered, a young girl a few weeks ago was tasered by a policeman because she was out of control. He didn't know what to do, how to handle the situation. So this is some of the stuff we need to learn how to do. Self-regulate, defining what that is, what the triggers are, looking for those answers that's going to help us, those power struggles, and how to restrain in small increments. We can't just say you're going to be well. No, it's a process. Everything is a process. We learn how to deal with that. So those are some of the things that we have to look at. So we have to continue to show compassion. We have to learn to listen. That's vital. Listening is vital. And sometimes our voice, we don't have to say anything. People can know that I'm connected by, if they're looking at me, I don't say anything. They know that I'm connected. They know that I would be compassionate. They can sense that you're real or you're phony.
And people that suffering can know that you're really listening or not. You know what I'm saying? If they give them the voice, don't drown them out like that. And so they're really able to say what they have to say, you know. And so this is the thing. Sometimes we do things that hurt ourselves and hurt others, and we shouldn't allow ourselves to go so low and be so disconnected that we become resentful or angry, you know, and want to do things and say things that's harsh to people. So we need to be careful with that. And this is some of the ways that we can help to promote even in our own family by giving them the opportunity to say, you know, it's okay, I understand, but we're going to look for some better ways to self-regulate, you know, to do something different to help yourself. So it's just vital to continue to support them in a positive way. So.
Wow. Thank you, Pastor Reese. We have a young lady, Lucio Mesa said, silence is a gift. Tell us more. Silence equals being present in spirit and not always in words. Can you speak to this if possible?
Say that again, I missed that.
Mm-hmm. Silence is a gift. Tell us more. Silence equals being present in spirit and not always in words.
But yes, I can speak to that. Yes, because it's a way that we can spiritually connect with people, because if we don't connect, there's no way we can ever correct them or touch them or meet their needs or come on their level. You know, until we walk in their shoes or feel the way they feel or understand how they understand about things, then we're never going to be able to do that. So we have to allow people, you know, spiritually to unravel. You know, even though it may not be crystal clear all the time, but silence is such a powerful tool because it speaks volumes of comfort, of love, and understanding that I can see you, but I'm not going to judge you. I hear you, but I'm not here to correct you at this moment. You know, I'm going to let you say what you need to say. And as time goes, we can develop this plan. You know, so it's an awesome thing. That silence is just a powerful tool. And if we use that, sometimes we wouldn't be so quick to what I call reactionary, become a reactionary. We ought to learn how to respond to people's needs, because it's more important to meet a need rather than be judgmental about somebody. And silence allows us to evaluate, to process, to look deep into a situation before we open our mouth and say something we're going to regret later and make the situation better. It's best to be quiet sometimes and allow people to set the agenda as to how we can help them best.
Thank you. Another question for you. When do you think the topic of demons, demonic spirits, and spiritual warfare start to be talked about as it relates to mental and emotional health? As both of those topics are Bible-based and deliverance was a huge part of Jesus's ministry.
Okay. Read that again. I think I missed it.
Yeah, sure. When do you think the topic of demonic or demon spirits and spiritual warfare start to be talked about as it relates to mental and emotional health? As both of those topics are Bible-based and deliverance was a huge part of Jesus's ministry.
Oh, that's a heavy one right there, isn't it?
That is a heavy one.
And a deep one. That needs a whole lot of application to that question. That's so awesome. So basically, what we have to do is we have to talk about it. We have to talk about our problems. And not only that, we have to do what I call an exchange. You know, positive, where there's negative stuff, where you feel like you can't, but yes, you can. You're valuable. You're precious. You know, that kind of thing. So we have to feed into somebody's spirit, because the Bible says, "Greater is He that's within us than he that is in the world." So we have to nurture ourselves. We have to daily pour into us. You know, because when you plant a seed, it doesn't produce overnight. It takes time for it to germinate and go through the stages. So that's the same process when we have all these demonic spirits and other things that's hindering us like that. We not only do prayer, but we have to do some meditation, you know, and go through that process, as I mentioned earlier, to get where we're supposed to go. But we have to constantly feed ourselves good thoughts, you know, that kind of thing. that, like that. So good dialogue, going to the right sessions, dealing with the right proper people. Everybody's not the right source. Everybody's not the right person to get information from, to share that information with others. Okay. So that is so important. Participating, allowing people to participate in other health programs and stuff like that. So it's very important. Okay. So
Thank you.
Can I add just a little bit more to that? Because sometimes some of this stuff comes out in church stuff, in church socials, in church services and stuff like that. So we have to really be careful how we word things and how we say things, because it's going to have an impact on somebody else's life, and it's going to make people feel like they're not worthy, or they're not wanted, or they're not accepted. So what we need to see is people preaching from the pulpit holistic messages of hope, praying that involves prayer service that involves everybody, that kind of thing. So really showing compassion and understanding at all times.
And Pastor Reese, do you feel that it could also be that it just needs to be an educational piece?
That's the whole thing.
Yeah, back in the day, it was, if your mind isn't right, or your spirit, it's demonic, something is going on within you. But this is actually a health concern. It's a health issue. And there may be some pastors or some faith leaders that we go to, and it's immediately, we need to put some oil on you. We need to, speak in tongues. We need to, but it's not fully taking care of the health issue. So, at some point, it's more so we need to start educating, which is what you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, and that's the problem. The Bible says that we perish for lack of knowledge, that we don't always understand how to properly process things in life, and then look at things different, because sometimes somebody can just be having a bad day. Doesn't mean that it's all that other stuff. And we just go way too far with it. Our kids acting up in church and don't know that they fix to get evicted or something to this nature. You see what I'm saying? We just over, blow things out of proportion. That's why we need what I call church therapy, where, like when you go to therapy, they ask you why you acting up today. What you doing wrong right now?
You're doing
so
wrong.
Sometimes we need to go through that. Why are you looking at me strange? I came to worship.
I hear you.
So we get caught up in some of the stuff that we shouldn't do. So, but God is for all of us. He loves us all.
Absolutely. We have another question. What advice would you give to other pastors that are struggling with addressing mental health in their church? Have you been approached by other pastors for guidance?
Yeah, I sure have. And the advice that I would give any pastor or a new beginner is that the first thing is to educate yourself about mental health. Know what that's like. Know what we can do. Know what the limitations are. Know what the side effects is. Understand these issues and things like that. Understand the emotional well-being of parents, what they go through, and other caretakers, and that kind of thing. What it means to do a referral and that kind of stuff. So that's the first thing, is that if I'm unlearned, I can't help anybody. I can't help myself, and I can't help anybody else. So don't feel, that's the first thing I would say. Don't be ashamed that we don't know. We can always ask somebody. Always ask somebody to help us, give us an understanding of it. And so we need to study more about these issues so we can, do a better job. Because,
sorry for interrupting, but I keep going back to having that plan. Having some sort of mental health plan or mental health integration plan, as you call it, to do at your church. Have the true dialogue.
Right.
Yeah. Miss Rosalie Martin, she said, do you work with other pastors in getting them to become more sensitive to the topic of mental health? Some of our churches have been silent on that topic.
Well, I try, and what I found to work the best is just to give them the material. Sometimes everybody has their own plan, a mental health plan, or whatever situation how they look at that to develop. That is what they call a process of helping somebody. So, but I noticed that once you give them the information, they will take it and use it, and you can see it, the fruit of it come out later. So that's the key concept, is just to keep encouraging, like what we're doing now. There are people listening in right now, that ordinarily wouldn't contact me or the African American Support Conference. They probably may not would come to it, but they still learning from this. So our labor and our fruit is not going to be in vain, because we're putting the word out there, and that's what it does. We're responsible. I kind of like the story of the Good Samaritan. I love that story because it talks about how he uses what he has. Excuse me, and he goes as far as he can go. Then he gives it to the innkeeper, but then he comes back to do a follow-up on it later. So that's what we can do, is keep calling, and keep pressing and keep encouraging people to learn and to understand that mental health is, something we need, and all of us are suffering from it. Because even right now, to be honest, if we be honest with ourselves, with the coronavirus, all of us is suffering with mental health right now. Everybody is going through some kind of unrest right now and need help. So that's.
Well, you mentioned keep talking about it, the dialogue, and keep talking about the dialogue. Well, this question here posed again, it says the suicide rate of young LGBTQ youth is much higher than the general population, yet the church shows little empathy and compassion for the LGBTQ community. How can we have that dialogue in the church?
Well, like I said, it has to be part of the church business. Remember, I talked about that pastoral letter, welcome letter. That stuff needs to be addressed in the pastoral welcome letter, to say, this is our church. It has colors. This is what it looks like. We love everybody. We support everybody. See? So that's part of that makeup, is that the congregation, everybody needs to know and understand that there's inclusion. God so loved the world that he gave his, son for the whole world, not just for me, but for everybody. He loved all of us. And so we shouldn't show partiality toward anybody. So it is a struggle, but there needs to be a genuine dialogue around that, where we can really hear and understand what the needs are. It's something that needs to be addressed. And so, we just need to be open about it. Because like I said earlier, if we don't connect, then we can't fix any problems. No answer will be received. There's no hope if we don't start connecting with people. Because until we understand how they feel and what they're going through and what the differences is, then it's going to be a difficult challenge. And so.
Yeah. We have a question from Shantae Smith. She says, how will the church teach others to activate the power within to overcome the enemy and daily mental torment?
Okay, well, the church, first of all, there's no greater love than a friend lay down his life for somebody else. So we need to be willing to make a sacrifice for somebody else to help. That's what the whole concept is about anyway, is what can we do to help somebody else? What can we do to make somebody else's life more valuable, in life? So the church is not just the spiritual aspect of it, but it also has to do with our finances, social justice, all those things, is involved in what we're doing. So will our youth graduate? Will they have good jobs? Will they be treated fairly? Health issues. Will they get the vaccines? When they said that, I heard them say that the minority, the Black community, is more apt to get coronavirus than anybody. So I can see the first responders being the first ones to get the shots and stuff like that. But we shouldn't be fourth or fifth down on the list. If we're the most vulnerable of all people, why are we way down on the list? So the church has addressed all these kind of problems that we're looking at right here. So, which is so vitally important. So, but because the Bible said many are perish because of lack of knowledge. So that's important. So, and we're stronger together. You know, we work together, pray together, love on each other together, and just help each other through good times and bad times. And I think the book of Acts, chapter 2, is a good example of that, where everybody shared together and done what they could do to make things better for each other. So just so vitally important. But we're here again, we need to practice some listening skills. To that question that you just raised, how can we activate that power? Well, it starts with listening, have some good listening skills that we can use right there, okay? Being patient, showing compassion, understanding, you know, slow to get upset about stuff, you know, to think things through, to make wise decisions, wise choices. What if, put yourself in that shoes, what if I was in this condition? You know, what would that be like? When I get in here, how would I be treated? Would I be respected? You know, those kind of things that we have to look at. So it's staying connected. That's one of the main things that we have to do, is learn how to stay connected with people, because connecting people together makes us stronger and gives us knowledge. Because sometimes, even in church, people don't always talk like they should talk, or support like they should support. And sometimes they know what resource, the person sitting next to you knows what a resource is. You know, you understand what I'm saying? They know.
Right.
So
I was looking at some of the things in the chat, and somebody put a welcoming church, support, compassion, and connection.
yeah,
And that's just ultimate right there, especially, you know, if you're talking about this particular question, how a person has to, you know, fight these things within them, not knowing that they have the support. So it's almost like they need to, and along with people around them to engage and be a part of everyone else.
That's right.
Oh man, so we have some more questions for you, Pastor Reese. How have you seen health ministries support mental health? What are some ideas?
Well, the way I've seen it is that, well, I've seen people, we've done workshops, seminars, training, things like that. And also there's been professional people that have come in and to help train and do things. And we've also had some mental health training, you know, that's CPR training, mental health first aid training, and stuff like that, to encourage members that we need to love on each other and support each other, stuff like that. So, yeah.
Okay. And then we also have from Felicia Williams Dennis, do pastors have any type of oath or pledge of confidentiality to the information received from congregants during pastoral counseling?
Yeah, we should have that confidential agreement. Every pastor in the church ought to have that. They ought to also have a litigation insurance, be insured by litigation as well, too. But then it needs to go a little bit further, where there needs to be that contract between the congregant as well as the church leader, about the confidentiality statement. But also, while you're dealing with that statement, there needs to be another clause put in there, basically that deals with the referrals, this information. Who gets to know this, and we go to a point where we can no longer do what we need to do, and some of your relatives or somebody is saying, pastor, somebody, it's time for a dual referral to a professional, you know, care provider. But if you check those boxes right up front, it's going to be proactive. And check those boxes up front, it's going to save a lot of heartache and pain up the road. Because, you know, doctors do this all the time. Send this information to John Doe. You see what I'm saying? So if those boxes are checked, then you know that you can do this rightfully and legally, especially because that parent or that person checked the box, you know, saying that. But if you don't do that, then issues out of control, and then you can't communicate and none of this stuff. You know, it's going to be a problem up the road. So it's best to have all these things laid out in advance. understand what the next steps are.
All right. So it's something like, is there something that each pastor or faith leader, is it something that they have to have or they should be doing? Is it just something internal?
But it's something that they need to have, because there's like I mentioned, the litigation part of it. You can there can be an accident in church, or somebody can say the wrong thing and whatever, and a lawsuit comes up. And so it's best that you have that coverage, for protection before it ever happens and stuff like that. But the main thing is that for us to have an understanding that there are certain things that just don't need to be said, period, to anybody. Care what the situation is, they just don't need to be said, spoken out like that. So, but that breach, that, contract needs to be there in place. So I think that every pastor or every church ought to have it, because that will be a problem down the road if something comes up. So.
Thank you. I have Miss Washington. She said, are there any conversations among pastors within the community about implementing resources or services within each respective church that members of the congregation can access? If so, what would those services or resources look like to you?
Well, some of it is just a food bank resources from Austin to Taylor to Bartlett, Texas, where pastors have food where they can come and get that. And some of us have what we call COVID-19 benevolent package, where we've paid some people's bills and stuff like that, and those kind of things. That we've even done that from our church, so some things like that. So that's what that would kind of look like, where they can just share, and as I mentioned earlier, have those phone calls to comfort somebody that may be going through at the time, So, but I have had that conversation with some pastors, what we can do to help people, so like that. And they don't mind calling and sharing if it's somebody in our area or whatever. But the conversation that I'm having is that if it's their members, my members, or whoever's members, whoever they can call any of us, they're gonna get the same response, help, or whatever. So,
Is there a sort of conversation that's happening right now within amongst the pastors, where y'all meet monthly or call or anything like that, where you get together, share these resources, know what church is doing what, that type of thing?
Well, yeah, well, we don't meet on a regular basis, but we did get calls. We call each other and stuff like that to check on us. Yeah. And I've had more pastors since the coronavirus check on me. I'm just, excited about that. But then before the coronavirus, so that, I guess, in one way, fellowship among pastors kind of increased, because they, want to know if you taking care of yourself and keeping the church safe. And they also want to know when you're going back up and what we're doing and what's going on with the vaccines and stuff like that. Because, that's way heavy on pastors. Should we let people come to church and, that kind of thing is a heavy burden. And sometimes you don't get the support that you need, because sometimes you need support from others. That's a heavy burden on any pastor's shoulder, to make sure that they're obeying God and also obeying the law of the land. So you kind of mix those two together, and you come out with something something else sometimes. And so you have to have people praying for you and making sure they stay in contact with you, that kind of thing. So they help you kind of, stay the course, because that burden can get heavy on your shoulders. So that's one good thing that some of us pastors is talking about, that kind of thing, and we're not moving or not budging. We're going to wait a while, and those kind of conversations going on, and what we can do to help people in the community, and sharing resources, what agency has money, what agency, because this is what they want us to do with this stuff. We don't get it to keep it, we get it to share it, to help people through this virus. So
yeah. Before we let you go, Pastor Reese, I wanted to let everybody know that we still have time for more questions. If I have not asked your question yet, put it in the chat again. May have missed it. You know, my eyes are not as young as they used to be, but put it in the chat again just so we can make sure that we get all the questions answered. And I do have another question for you, Pastor Reese. It says, what is the church actively doing to help break the stigma of mental illness within the African American community?
Oh, that's a good question. First thing we start educating ourselves and creating more inclusion in the church, you know, getting people to understand that we have to love on each other, help each other, and that kind of thing. So it's that educational part that's so vital right now. So
Okay.
Yeah.
We did have some more questions come in. Have you thought about organizing churches and getting health departments to administer the vaccine? So many African Americans want to get the vaccine, so many African Americans want to get the vaccine, but can't get it.
Well, yeah, if you become that way and the opportunity opens up, you know, I'm not going to take anything off the table because it's people. It's about people, about their needs. And if it works to help people get vaccinated, and I think the churches should really be working hard at that, what you just mentioned, because there's so many African Americans that are afraid to, you know, because of what happened back in centuries ago, you know, that kind of thing. So I'm not going to get into all that, but they're just afraid that the vaccine, you know, is not what it should be. But we just need to encourage our church members and family members that we need it, you know, in order to stay safe. And sometimes it's not also always about us, but it's about keeping somebody else safe too. It's about that self-care, you know, versus self-care.
Yeah.
I'm doing it for you, and you should be doing it for me. That kind of thing.
Yeah, it is very difficult. It's a challenge right now because I mean you're looking at the only way to actually register to get it is through the internet, and looking
Right.
at some of our low income or even indigent our elders, you know, who aren't able to actively get on that site. My mother, she has a hard time with her arthritis, and so pushing those buttons
Mhm.
trying to get in is very challenging for her. So it's difficult that it's not getting to, you know, some of the folks that really need it the most.
Right.
Yeah. We have another question for you. Oh no, I'm sorry. Thought that was another question. All right. Pastor Reese, is there anything else that you want to, you know, kind of sum up the night today? Anything you really want to tell us, give us in regards to a resource? You have the floor, sir.
Well, I would just say let us continue to pray one for another, encourage each other, do all that we can to help each other in such a time as this, because we really need to stick together, you know, and to know that we can be there for each other. And I think it's vitally important that we do FaceTiming, you know, text somebody, communicate, Facebook Live, whatever we can do, socializing, driving by, giving a token, a gift to somebody. I think that is so important. And I think that we tried to do this with many churches in our community from Ocean to Killeen, where we gave them, you know, like a gift statue with their church's name on it, stuff like that, a way of churches staying connected. So there's so many ways that we can do things to encourage somebody, you know, I love you, you know, put your picture on Facebook. And one thing that I found helpful a while back is that, you know, a lot of the elderly people, they kind of like, you know, the whooping and stuff like that. So I kind of reposted some of my old sermons where, you know, because sitting here where I'm at now, you just can't, you know, go do, you know what I'm saying, just get loose like that.
Get
So
loose.
I reposted some of that stuff. So they could hear a little more zip, you know, that kind of thing. So, but, you know, we just really need to learn how to stay connected and, you know, push that message of hope that we're going to get through this thing together. The virus ain't got it, we got it. You know what I'm saying? It's a big thing, but it's not going to overwhelm us. Why? Because the Lord promised to never leave us nor forsake us. And we know that we have the hope. And we know that there are people, I've done a couple of funerals already, and it was devastating because parents, the family members couldn't come. The bereavement is just unexplainable, that people cannot even grieve the way that they need to. So, I mean, there's so much unrest going on with the racial overtone and the lives lost, you know, over the last months of Black men's lives matter, and all these different things going on, where we're just facing so many challenges. But this is the time that we really need to step up, and I just produced a new book, Christ, the Last Revelation. And there's a track out there right now that's sharing a twofold message about salvation and about coming to Christ right now. So it's so vitally important that people know and understand that you do have somebody that loves you. Everybody may not say it, but there is somebody out here that loves you. There is somebody here that will call you. I'm not caught up in myself that I can't help somebody. And so that's what we need to get past, is that we're here as a vessel and should be usable and doing whatever we can. It's time now for us to put our best foot forward, to do everything we can. And so I think, and I know beyond a doubt, that the African American Family Support Conference is doing everything it can to educate, to instruct, to enlighten us, to encourage us, that we are stronger together. We can do these things together. So we're not in this by ourselves. We have family. I don't have to walk by myself. I can walk with somebody else, and the things I can't do, I expect somebody else to do it for me. And I shouldn't have to ask them. I can see it, I can feel it, and I know that they need my help. It's up to me. It's up to me. You sure
You
look
got
good.
it.
God bless you. The Lord is awesome. The Lord
You
is.
got it.
Bless you. Thank you so much.
Yes. So step up, support each other, connect,
Yes, we got to do it.
and connect as a community.
That's right. And if we
Hey,
don't
everybody.
connect, we can't help. And
Oh
connecting
my
sometimes
goodness.
begins with us. And it's not them, it's us that must connect sometimes.
He's starting to preach. I'm gonna have to come
Yeah.
down.
The Lord is right. Good.
Oh my goodness. I would like to thank Pastor Reese
Oh, I love
for
you.
sharing his knowledge and insight with us. And many thanks to all of you for joining us today and staying on tonight.
Yes.
Just thank you so, so much. Please take a few minutes to complete the workshop survey. It helps us to know how we're doing. If you're seeking CEUs, remember that your form will be in the survey and the links are in the chat. Have a wonderful night. Be blessed. Thanks again. Please stay safe. And we look forward to seeing you tomorrow morning.